Hello, good morning, everybody, or afternoon if you're on the East Coast. It's early morning here in California. We're always off to a little bit of a slower start. I am super excited for today, and I want to be doing more of these lives where we're talking about, not just getting started, because it's a little bit more than just getting started. There are so many of you that have joined this group that when you answer your questions, you're like, hey, I'm just getting started, or I haven't started yet. I don't know where to start. I want to encourage you, hang tight, follow along, listen in, join the conversation. I would say for those of you that have already started, have already kind of said, this is for me. I want to do freelancing, whether you're a virtual assistant, you're a photographer, you're a web designer, you're a copywriter. Freelancing really means a lot of different jobs, right? Um, I I think my sweet spot is helping people that have already decided, yes, this is for me. Now I need help now that I've decided. I really don't want to spend a lot of time convincing anybody they should do this because I'll tell you what, that is a really huge decision to make, and there's a lot of emotions that go with that. So if you are new, awesome. Like I said, there's going to be plenty here for you. But if you are a freelancer and you go, yes, I know that there's something here. I just want to stop hustling. I really want to shift into this full time. I really want to make a go of it, if you want to say, like, I want to make this my thing. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. Not only can I help you, but you're in a community of other people that are doing the exact same thing. There are many, 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 many freelancers in this group that are already making six figures. Seriously, I'm working with them, I'm coaching them. Okay. There's several of us making multiple six figures. That is not my promise to you. That is not what we're trying to do here. What I really want to help you do is move from hustling, surviving, really kind of like grinding, to thriving. I want you to thrive. I want you to find clients you like. I want you to do work that you love. I want you to do it on your own schedule. I want you to still be a mom or a dad and raise kids and homeschool. I want you to be able to do all those things and still create an amazing full-time business. So that's where we're at. If that's for you, hey Rolando, I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, say a quick shout out, say hello if you're in the group, if you're watching. I am so excited to introduce my guest. I met Pete a couple weeks ago when he reached out and said, hey, I think we do the same thing. I help freelancers build great businesses too. And I was like, oh my gosh. I love meeting other people that have the same passion, that are out there serving, that are out there helping others really find a way. One of the things that's really important for me is that we have an abundance mindset. And I'll just share with you really quickly what that means and why it's important for my conversation with Pete. An abundance mindset says a couple things. It says that there is enough work out there for everybody. An abundance mindset said that nobody's going to steal work from you, that nobody's out to get you. There really isn't competition. Once you start believing that and you lose that scarcity mindset, everything starts to open up. The second thing that's important is that we want to collaborate and work together. Whether you are a copywriter and you know another copywriter, you guys want to share what's working for you. You want to share your wins. If you have great templates or you have great discovery, share that information because we believe there's enough work for everybody. So when I met Pete and he said, oh, I coach freelancers on how to, build amazing businesses. I was like, that's what I do. I want to know more about it. I want to hear your story. I want you to talk to my audience. There is no competition. There is no scarcity. There's no, oh, I don't want them to meet. No, Pete is amazing. And I can't wait for us to have this discussion in front of you guys live about the mistakes we made our first year as freelancers. And because we coach freelancers, we're going to be able to tell you some of the things that we can see now in hindsight that you might be walking through. Okay, so it's going to be a fun conversation. And I'm going to bring Pete in. I'm practicing using new software, so forgive me if this gets a little bumpy. Let's bring Pete in and make sure you're unmuted. All right, how about now, Pete? Can you say hello?
Oh, yeah. Hi, how you doing? Thank you, first of all, for having me, and hello to everybody who is here.
Yes. Now, Pete's all the way from London. He's in UK
Indeed.
time, and so he's got that fabulous accent. Everybody's got to drool over. I love it. Um, Pete, I do want you just to introduce yourself real quick, and then I'll
Sure.
take it back and we'll talk a little bit about our first year, and then I'll throw it back to you. So we'll kind of bounce back and forth.
Perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, my name's Pete, and I am now in London. And I've been freelancing for around 10 years. It's about seven of those have been full time. Grown my business to the six-figure level twice because I did it the first time. I had a health issue, which sort of destroyed my business, and then I had to do it all again. And I tell you, that second time was so much easier. Once you've got like frameworks and processes that you can use, it's just so much easier. Now, still doing the copywriting thing with different clients, still working and enjoying it, but I work primarily with software as a service brands.
Love it. Let me just check my sound. Okay, give me a second, guys. My audio. So they say that I sound very muted.
Oh.
I sound low. And so now I have to figure out. Pete sounds great. So that's awesome. I need to give you guys just a second. Sound levels. There we go. How about now? Is it better? Much better now. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. Um, no, that's fabulous. And so when talking to Pete and that he's been doing this for so long, it's amazing to know that not only are you still doing it in the business, but then you're now coaching others. Like this is something like,
Yes.
hey, I've done this, I know how to do this, and now I'm going to show you how to do that. Would you say you spend more time coaching, or are you still actually doing writing yourself?
So, in a transitional period at the minute, now it's kind of a 50-50 split. But I am taking on more and more coaching as we go forward. It is educational to sort of go back to those issues that you once had when you were first starting out, to then help other people through them. And it's a little bit more fulfilling as well, I find.
Yeah.
Because things that took me years to figure out through trial and error, because I was too stubborn to seek help for a long while, that you can then turn around to somebody and just go, oh, it's this, if you change this a little bit, then they'll see a much better response and progress.
Yeah. So I'll jump in here. Okay, just a second, guys. Let's try this again. How about now? I'm sorry, Pete.
No worries.
Trying to get this. I got a sound guy over here telling me my is not quite right. Skype's good. All right, so I'm going to keep talking. Hopefully you guys can hear this. If not, we'll switch over to a different mic. So I wanted to share with you guys really quickly. You're talking about being fulfilled and helping others. Like I don't know about you, Pete, but my first year, I didn't have anybody to like know what to do. Like I didn't know who was doing anything like this. I had never heard anybody who was a copywriter. I didn't even know what that word was. I didn't know anybody who was on Upwork. I didn't know this. I just kind of put my head down and figured it out. And a lot of us are scrappers like that, and that's awesome. Okay. So being like a hustler, like I actually really love hustlers. All right. So as much as I say, oh, you shouldn't hustle, you got to be a hustler, but you don't have to hustle. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I wish I had somebody to go, oh, at least I can chase them, follow them, copy them, steal like an artist, any of those things. I didn't have that. And so about a year ago, when somebody said to me, can you teach me to do what you did? And I was like, sure, yes. And she's like, can I pay you to coach me? I literally, my mind blew. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'll tell you for free. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's an idea here. So, um, you know, getting an example, a mentor, or following somebody is so important. So I think it's great that you're going into that even more full time. The thing that's also important is staying in the craft. staying
Mm.
hustling as a freelancer too. So, when I talk to my group, I'm always saying, guys, I'm still here. I'm still putting proposals out every day. I'm still looking for work. I'm still dealing with clients. And I'm also coaching on the side. So you always kind of want to stay in it a little bit so that you can remember the feelings, right?
It's the thing as well, but tactics and the strategies change as things change. As like new platforms come out and there are new tactics to be used on algorithm changes and all of these things. If you're not in it and if you're not continuing to try to find clients, the information that you're then helping people with is out of date. It's not going to help.
Yeah.
You've got to stay in it. I think any good coach is actively also trying to run their own business in that area, and it might only then make up a small percent of their overall business, but they have to.
Yeah, I agree. So my first year, guys, I'll give you like a quick 2-minute synopsis of it, and I'm gonna have Pete share his first, couple years or year, and then we're gonna point out some things that I hope that you actually resonate with. I hope that you go, that's me. If you're dealing with these things, here's the good news: you are in the right place. Like, unfortunately, you are going to have to go through these things. So part of this conversation is identifying the fact that it's normal, you're normal, and everybody has to deal with it. And then you can go, okay. I think sometimes we think, is it just me? Am I the only one? Like, does this happen to anybody else? Right? Give me a hands up if you guys feel that way, or a thumbs up if you're like, yeah, I wondered, is there anybody else that's going through this, right? So here's my first year. Kind of everybody knows, hopefully, maybe that I still do most of my business on Upwork. Upwork is a freelance platform. Think of it kind of like an eBay where somebody posts a job and somebody bids on a job, and there's a bunch of negotiating and haggling and writing proposals, and it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hustling, to be honest. But I started by taking any job pretty much people would pay me for. I had no ego around, well, I do this or I do this. I honestly did not know what I did. I was like, if you're going to pay me, I will do this for you. Now, that comes from a place of leaving a full-time job, having 3 kids as a single mom, waiting to get hired by some big fancy pants company here in LA, which never happened, never got a call, never got a return email on a resume, and had that holy moment when I woke up one day and said, this is it. Like, you've got to do something with what's in front of you. And so I basically kind of swallowed my pride, to be honest, and started working for gigs for 15, 20, 25. I think my first post was like $40 an hour. And that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that. Here's one of my first big points to tell you guys. Where you are today isn't where you're always going to be. So be okay with it's not perfect yet. I'm not getting paid what I'm worth yet. I'm not doing what I want yet. Don't be a brat. Just say, okay, this is what I've got. It will bring money in. It'll give me experience. I'll refine my systems a little bit, but I don't have to stay here. And I think that's what I knew my first year was that it was going to continue to build and grow. And it was not this I guess this is it. I guess this is the way life's going to be. I'm just going to be a hustler. And so that was probably my first real big, not lesson, but where I realized I was going to be able to continue to grow. So that was my first year. I applied for lots of jobs. I started to about 6 months in find this niche. I was like, oh man, these clients start working. This is working really well. I didn't price myself well. I spent way too much time writing proposals and emails and all the things. I didn't have any systems or processes, but I kind of managed my way through. And I got to the end of the year, and literally, guys, this is my accounting system. I had a Google spreadsheet, and I just kept track of the names of the people, all of the invoices, and every now and then I would do a total at the bottom of the Google sheet to see how much money I made. That was it. I had no idea how much money I was making. At the end of the year, I made $126,200 some odd dollars. And when I took it to my accountant and I said, he's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I work from home. I'm a work from home mom. I do some writing on the side. And he looked at those numbers. He's like, yeah, no, you have a business here. You're legit. You just did 6 figures. And literally I started to cry. I was like, because imposter syndrome. because I thought, no, that's not me. I've never made that much money in my life. So, I don't want you to think when we talk about hitting six figures, like I had this shiny goal on the wall and I was aiming for it. I just literally was head down, and it wasn't until the end of the year that I was like, wow. And that is one job after another that kind of added up to something at the end of the year. So it wasn't glamorous. There was a lot of tears. And I'll just kind of close with this and pass it on to Pete. I woke up every day that first year with a pit in my stomach that today was the day it would all fall apart. Today was going to be the day that nobody said yes. There was going to be no jobs to apply for, that all the clients I currently had were just going to say, we figured you out. You don't know what you're doing. We're not paying you. You're laughing because I was like, I've been lucky up until now. It literally is all going to fall apart, and I'm going to have to go find a job. And every single day I rode that roller coaster, and you'd get one client, and you're like, oh my God, And, I look back on those times and I say that because have any of you felt that way? Like, have any of you felt like, man, this run is going to run out, So Pete, tell me about your experience. You're laughing on this.
It's funny because I had that exact same feeling of that pit in your stomach, and you waking up and you're thinking, this is it. I've had a good run. This is going to be the end of it. And it was when I started viewing it that seriously that I started to see real gains in the business, because I was being serious. But because my first few years, I didn't take it seriously at all. Then I was working in an office job. I didn't really like the office job. And I read this book from this woman who wrote the book and was earning a full-time living from a beach in Bali. And I remember thinking, why am I in this horrible grey office in East London while she's sat on a beach earning money?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so, I had enough of the job. So I handed in my notice, and which was a stupid thing to do because I had no plan. I was like, I'll write for a living. This will be great. Fortunately, they asked me if I could stay on 2 days a week. So I did. If they hadn't done that, I think I would have been in real trouble. But then for the first year or two, I just didn't take it seriously. I had no systems. I had no processes. I didn't have anything defined, any sort of ideal client, no niche, no idea really what I was doing. And I worked with, as you said, anybody who had money that was willing to pay writers, I would do. And my first job was writing corporate bios for a new company that had brought in some executives from different companies, and they wanted these wonderful, only like 50 words corporate bios. Yeah. And I guess that the per word rate would have been quite high because I was paid $20 per bio. But because I'd never done anything like this, they took me forever to do. It took me like a full day to do these. I think it was 5 or 6 bios. And then I actually submitted them, and I got an email back, and the woman was just like, these are terrible. She's like, I can pay you for 3. So I got paid for 3 of them. And I was just like, wow, maybe I can't make this work. But then, as you said, I just kept trying. And you figure it out, but it took a long while. And because I didn't really take it too seriously, I was too busy and I was too wrapped up in the image of being a writer than actually running a business. And it was only when I made that switch to being a business owner rather than a freelancer, like a freelance writer, that things started to go well for me. But that was 2 years of just terrible work, terrible.
I am so glad you brought that up. I know that people who love what they do love the idea of going into business for themselves, right? Being able to get paid to do their passion. And, everybody goes in with kind of like bright eyes and the idea of, making a living doing what they love. The challenging part, as much as we want to call everybody a freelancer, you are an entrepreneur and a business owner, which means you need to market yourself, you need to get leads in the door, you need to do discovery calls, you need to send proposals, you need to know how to negotiate, you need how to close the deal. Wait, I'm a writer. Sorry, you don't get to do any writing until you get the business in the door. And it can be so disheartening. You can so want to just do the work, and you're good at it, and the clients can use your work, but you're not great at selling yourself or being able to communicate clearly what you do. And I think that is what's so heartbreaking for so many people when I see that they have the talent and they have the desire to do it, but they don't know how to get over that hurdle. And every day they wake up with that pit in their stomach, like, ugh, I have to write proposals today. I don't know what to price myself. What if they say no, right? Like all of those things.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's hard as well, especially for writers, because generally writers are quite an introverted group. And there's a lot of value placed on the work that we do because it's a representation of ourselves, if you like. So when a client then is like, no, it feels terrible. It's like you take that personally. It's not the work. But then that also carries over, as you said, you've got to market yourself. You've got to, price accordingly as a business, which means that you've got to remove the personal side of it and view it as a business, not as you as the writer. It's the business that you're doing this for. You can do it for the client's business, so you have to view yourself as the business and do it for yourself as a business.
So I wrote down, let's jump into the mistakes
Sure.
that I see freelancers making. And I will put my hand up to say, why don't we just call it like it is? These are the mistakes I made. I still make. And it's funny you say that because the first one I wrote down is taking it personally. There is too much of your ego and your passion wrapped up in the business side of things. And even when you do get the gig and you do the work, you still can't take it personally, especially as someone who's a writer or a design. Actually, anybody who's a freelancer is giving of themselves and creating art. Oh my gosh, I'm taking it personally. So let's unpack that in all the different ways. When I apply for jobs, let's say on Upwork or somebody requests the things, and I send my response and they're like, that's great, or I can't afford it, or you're not what I'm looking for. So at the very top end of the funnel, basically being rejected. I do not take that personally. I did before. I used to be like, wait, but you don't know me. Like, let's get on a call. Let me convince you, right? You're going to love me. And so not taking it personally was such a huge freedom to take that off. And here is where I was able to switch, for me, my mindset. Guys, you never know what's going on the other side of the screen. You have no idea what's going on in their business, their life, their family, their finances. You have no idea. Even if they tell you, they're not telling you the truth. So when you think that you know the whole situation, when you think you know, oh, I know who they're talking to, or I know who I'm up against, you know nothing. And that's okay. And it's probably better that you don't know anything. I always say, don't get attached to the outcome. Don't get yourself so excited and worked up about meeting a client. You're like, oh my God, this one's perfect. They're going to be great. And then all of a sudden they say no. And you're like, oh, it must have been me. So, how did you handle that? Or is that a problem that you see?
It is a problem that I see a lot, and it's a problem that I had as well. And the way that I got over it was I managed to get this gig writing for a company that focused on a particular element of digital marketing conversion rate optimization. And it's all about running as many experiments as possible to see, change the headline this way to see if it gets a higher click-through rate than the other one. And so I started to view all of my client acquisition as a game. Everything was an experiment. So I started to view it just as a game for me. And I was like, right, so maybe I'll send it with this subject line versus that subject line. I tried to take myself out of the equation. And I was just like, right, I'll run these two things against one another. And for me, it was just a bit of fun at that point, to see which one works. And by viewing it more as a game to be played rather than a personal endeavor which had to be won, it just made it so much easier for me to just not just disassociate myself from the results, but just keep banging out pitch emails and as many different actions as I could.
That's the key. Not putting all your eggs in one basket. A big mistake I see freelancers making is only applying for like one or two jobs at a time because they're like, oh, because if I get them, I'll be too busy. First of all, I wish anybody had that closing rate. That's not how it works, right? And you should be putting out 4, 5, 6, 10, right, applications if you're on a freelancing platform or if you're looking for leads. That way, out of those 5 or 10, if 2 of them hit, you're super excited and you're okay if the other ones don't. But I do remember too many nights where I would sit literally and like will the email to come back to me saying yes, right? And I remember when I kind of let that go, I stopped micromanaging my schedule. Like, oh, I can only take just one more. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation about how many clients you can handle at a time. But when I put out like 10 emails, I literally forgot about some of them. It just didn't matter if they said yes or no. And I kind of left it up to God. I left it up to the universe. I kind of said, listen, I have done everything I can. I've pushed it out the door. Whatever comes back to me is meant to be, and what's not. It's a little fatalistic, but it actually reduces the amount of energy, stress, and mental like clutter just to go out the door next. And I have a Trello board. I keep track of things now. So I know where things are, but I'm not kind of really focused on each one individually.
Yeah. So it comes back to that thing, doesn't it? Where you optimize your processes for actions over results. So it's like I need to do 10 emails per day to people or 10 pitches per day for these people. You're not so much worried about the results that come back in. Of course, you want that. But if you focus on taking those actions, eventually you'll realize, right, I need to send 20 emails to get one new client. Mm-hmm. So next time that you need work, you're just like, I'm just going to send 20 emails to 20 potential clients or 20 pitches or whatever it is that you do. And it's optimizing everything that you do for those actions rather than building it around the results, because the results are too demoralizing.
Oh. Especially in the first year, and they're so up and down. There would be one month where I was like, my God, this is it, I'm on track. And then the next month it would be like, this is, now I got to go get a job. And then it would be going up again. And sometimes like within a week, it would be this up and down. I think freelancers have to kind of deal with that because it's so in real time in your face, and you can see the numbers and you're like, these are not going to add up. I don't want to say trust me, but it is a kind of a numbers game where eventually they do even out, and one month is a little bit different than the next month. And so, we're at a point now where ours is steady and we've kind of figured out some things, but that's 3 years in, right? My first year, it literally was the ups and downs.
Yeah. It's the feast and famine cycle. And I think the reason that the feast and famine happens is because when a lot of freelancers get into that feast cycle, we all get lazy. It's like, you're like, things are going well for me. I'll just, kick back. I'll enjoy this month. And then next month comes and you're like, where's all the income?
You start panicking again, and then you rev up the machine, and
exactly.
You don't want that. Like, guys, that is hustling, not thriving. Thriving is where you are, working with clients you like, doing work that you love on your own schedule. So how do you get that to be something that is consistent? We're not yet there yet, but we're gonna switch over to Q&A in a little bit. And so if you guys want to drop your questions in the comment box, I'll be able to see them and pull them onto the screen. And that way we'll be able to kind of answer those questions. But Pete, tell me some things. I know you said you were making a list of some mistakes that you see freelancers make. Why don't you drop one in for us?
Oh, I mean, rather than throw anybody that I've worked with under the bus, I'll pull from my own mistakes, because I've made far too many. So if we go back to the feast and famine cycle, you can get through that by taking those actions consistently, even when the times are good. The problem that I had when I first started was I got one really good client that paid me. That single client was low four figures. It was like $3,000-$4,000 a month just from that one client. And I was like, I'm done. I can just pick up bit work here and there and all of this sort of thing. And I was getting lazy. And I remember I was in my girlfriend at the time, my now wife's place in New York. She's from New York. And I'd sent some work in for approval, and I was getting no response. And so then that pit in the stomach comes back, and you're thinking, oh, this is the day that it's finally happened. This is not good. And I text a friend of mine who used to work at that company. I was like, what's happening? And he said, you didn't hear? I was like, no. Overnight, they just cut 90% of their marketing department. They cut the marketing department down to like 4 people. Ooh. I had work that was in for approval, and then obviously payment for that month. And basically overnight, I went from a comfortable income, not a good income, but a comfortable income, to scrambling for work. And so it was that lesson that taught me never rely on one client. Yeah. One is never enough. Even if they're paying a very good rate, you've got to have backups. You've got to have fallbacks.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. The another mistake I see people making, this is a big one. I talk about this a lot in a course that I put together about how you do discovery calls and how you talk to clients. Basically, how do you sell? There is this idea that we think the client knows best. We think that the client really does know what they need. When they put a job posting up and they say, I need this, this, and this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not qualified for that. I can't apply for that because they need this, okay? And I don't know what month it was. I would say 6 or 7, I started getting a little desperate and I applied for things that I was not qualified for. Like they were like, oh, we need this. I was like, I don't do that, but I'm going to apply because I do this part of the job. I won more business. I have to say this is probably one of the biggest turnarounds. The most eye-opening thing was to realize, wait a second. They get on these discovery calls and I just ask them a couple questions and they crumble and they're like, I don't know actually what I need. And you're like, oh, hold on. And I realized that especially on a platform like Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, they're newbies to this too. They're kind of business owners that are overwhelmed. They're confused. They're trying to like fix their website and they're like, I need a WordPress website. No, you don't. You don't know what you need, right? I need a UX designer. No, you don't. You need a copywriter, right? And so as I got on these calls, I'd ask a few questions. I'm like, oh, actually what I think you need is this. And they're like, do you do that? I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. Like, okay, we need that. And I started applying for those kind of jobs. And so I want to encourage you. We think that they're the boss, like they're the know-it-all, that the client is always right. I'm telling you, probably 80% of the time, the client is clueless, scared, not quite sure. They posture like they're like, well, I'm hiring the best, but no, they'll hire anybody who can do what they need, to get done. And that changed things for me. That also changed actually how I worked with clients, how I charged clients. I stepped into the role of the guide. I am the expert. And now I've been freelancing way longer than they've been looking for a freelancer. So let me want to say that again. For those of you that have been doing this for a little while, you have probably been freelancing and sending proposals longer than they've been looking for somebody. You know what's best. Okay? Now, of course, you need to take into consideration what they're trying to accomplish, but just have that confidence. Apply for jobs that you're like, I know I could do that. I'm not quite sure if they really need that. Take the time to get on a discovery call. Figure it out. I have one of my favorite ones where this girl wanted help with social media. And I ended up getting on I don't do social media, but I ended up getting on a discovery call with her because her website was so horrible. I said, please don't spend any money on social media to send people to that site. Like, you're just wasting your money. He's like, who are you and can you help me? And I was like, yeah, we just finished building out her whole entire website because she didn't know what she wanted. She thought she needed some Facebook ads. And I was like, oh, bless. No, you need a whole lot more than that. And now her business is off and running. So I get so passionate about this because when we lack confidence, when we're insecure, one, we don't apply for enough jobs that we should be applying for. We don't take control of the discovery call and letting people know. And guys, clients want to be led. They want to be given a process. They want an expert or a guide to take them. Don't be the freelancer that just says, what do you want done? Okay, I'll go get it done for you. Like say, hey, I can help you. I'm going to empower you. I'm going to bring value. Trust me on this. And I'm telling you, people will just melt in your hands.
Completely true. I couldn't agree more with that. It's perfect because it's like you said, you're the expert. If they didn't need somebody to come in for this, they wouldn't be hiring for this position. They need an expert. And every business owner, they want an expert to do particular jobs because they want the best results. So you've got to view it as you're going in as a partnership with the business owner. You are a business owner as a freelancer. You run your own business.
Right.
They're a business owner. You're not going in below them to take orders. You're not going in above them to give them orders. It's a partnership. You're going in at the same level. You are peers more than one boss and the other around.
Yeah, for sure. Let me drop a question in here. It's probably one of
Sure.
the mistakes people make, so we can kind of address it as a mistake. Kathy, I'm not picking on you. You're asking a question, so I'm not saying that you're doing this. It's probably more like, hey, she has a question. So her question, let's see if this comes across. And let me minimize this. So she says, do you ever recommend subcontracting work when you have lots of projects all at once?
I have done this. Yeah. So I grew my business. First couple of years it was terrible. Then I got serious and I grew my business to 6 figures. And then I did the whole digital nomad thing. And then I had an accident which caused the business to collapse. And I realized I couldn't rely on myself anymore because if I'm taken out of the game, my income is just gone. So I needed other people. So I eventually wanted to get people that I could hire. to sort of bring on and do some of the work, and then I could be more like a business development. But that all started with subcontractors. So I would take on the work and I would subcontract it to somebody else, and then it would come back via me to the client. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a great way to keep revenue coming in without having to spend your time doing the work. Of course, you then have to pay the subcontractor. You just need to make sure that you double check the work that the subcontractor is doing to make sure that it aligns with the client, because you're the point of contact for both of these people. And that everything is as good and up to the quality and standard that you would do it yourself.
Yes. So let me jump in and give a little perspective on that too. I have clear guidance on this based on my experience. So I love Pete's perspective on it, and I really appreciate and respect it. When the last masterclass I did was with the 4 stages of scaling. And oftentimes when we're in our first stage and we get busy, we get a little panicky. We're like, oh, it's busy. Like, I need to bring on more people. And my perspective is, no, you don't. Not yet. And it's different than the answer that you gave. When you are first starting and you get busy, it just means you need to expand your capacity. You need to find ways to do things better, smarter, faster. You feel the stretch, and that's an amazing thing. I remember when I had 5 clients and I felt like I was suffocating. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. And then someone's like, but I want to pay you to work with you. And I was like, Lisa, get smart. Like, they want to give you money. Figure out a way to buy more time. Like, figure out a way to get your process. Like, I was getting mad at myself, right? I do not think in that situation the answer is to bring on a subcontractor at that point. The next stage is to buy back some time, which was getting somebody to do my grocery shopping or do my laundry or clean the house, or like I needed to buy more time so that I could spend more time working on projects. So that's the next phase of expanding your capacity, is you buy back your time. Before you bring on a subcontractor, Kathy, this is my advice. Again, I have to get really passionate about this. You need to have bulletproof processes. You need to have your stuff so streamlined and put together, because here's the mistake people make. They think, oh, I don't have to do the work, so I'll just pass it down the line, right? You just swap your time from doing the work to managing people, which, I love people and I love my team, but managing people can become a nightmare. And now on top of that, you got to like make sure the work is good, but now you're managing egos and deliveries, and you're nodding your head, Pete. You're just like, all right, this is true. Now, do I have subcontractors? Yep, and that is how I scaled the business from about 250 to we're on to be 500 this year. And that is because of subcontractors. But I earned the right to have subcontractors by setting myself up so that they could do the work without all the frustration and the mess. So you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you're completely right. I think the whole thing about any business scaling and growth comes down to those processes, the systems and processes. If you don't have those in place, it's very difficult to scale. And the way that I've always looked at it, and the way that I teach people to do this, is when you are looking to get subcontractors in or to hire people in, you first want to try and create a miniature version of yourself. So you want to give them the exact process that you use. That is a foolproof guide. It'd be like, if you write sales pages, it'll be, the people sales pages process for dummies. It's so simple that they can 100%. Literally just follow that process. And then you want to give them that, but then you also want to give them some freedom that they can come back with ideas on ways to improve it. Because to think that you are the only person who can do the job is limiting. Sometimes the feedback that you get back from those subcontractors is so valuable on how things can be improved. So valuable.
I actually really, really agree with you. You can put a process in place. They'll refine the process. Give them the framework that's kind of 80% like structure, and then they can spend the rest of their time and energy on being creative. Not because there's so much back and forth with delivering work and communicating and getting paid. Like, it really can be a distraction. So before you start like building your empire, please be sure your foundation is very, very strong. I always say this: earn the right to scale. And when you feel the stretch, that is not an indicator. It just means that one, you probably should be raising your prices if you have a wait list. That's one mistake people make. And second is actually not getting really iron tight with your schedule and what you should be doing. I'm going to drop another question in the group. Andrea talks about leveraging your time. All right. So this is a question from Courtney. It's a long one. I'm probably going to have to put it up here a couple times. It says, I tend to prefer project-based projects, specialize in marketing and strategy. As I look to switch this to full-time, how do you balance project-based work versus recurring revenue? So those, you mentioned that you had a client that you worked for every month. So talk to me about a little bit your first year, the difference between, hey, I take on a project, finish it, off it goes out the door, and keeping somebody and having them as recurring revenue.
So that was one of the things that really enabled me the first time to get up to that 6-figure level. Was initially I was just selling projects. I was like, I will do a set piece of work for you for this price. And then I was doing all of the correct things at that point. So, you have so many successful projects. The next person that comes on, you up the price, and then you up the price again until you hit that fee ceiling. But the problem is it's a lot of work to keep your pipeline filled and enough work coming in that you can continually stay at that level. And that's where that feast and famine comes in. So then by talking to some of those clients, I was like, what could I do for you on an ongoing basis that would provide similar value that you would like keep me on retainer for? And I think this is one of the mistakes that I see so many of my students make, and I've seen so many other freelancers over the years of doing this make, is that they try to come up with a service that they think is valuable. And we're not the ones paying for that service. The best thing that you could do is ask your clients, what is it that you need in your business? They will tell you what they want, and then you can package that as a recurring business, as a monthly retainer type offer, and sell it back to them. And if it's exactly what they want, it's a no-brainer for them to actually buy it. They're like, oh, of course I need this. I actually told you this is what I need. But that's the best way to do it. Is so, if you're already doing project work, I would ask those people, what would continue to provide value on a similar lines of what I do for you on a monthly basis? If you've got a good relationship with them, they'll tell you, because they'll want you to do it for them.
So let's have a just real quick chat. I love startup principles. Lean startup is something I've worked with tech companies and startups for many, many, many years. There's a difference between a product market fit and a product customer fit. And oftentimes as a freelancer, to feel legit, we feel like I need to have packages. And I'm going to put my packages on my website, and they have to pick my package to work with me because I'm legit, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. And really, what you just described is what Steve Blank talks about, customer fit or customer development, which is you ask your customer, what do you need? And then you're able to create a package, like you said, that will meet their need. Now, that does not work on the initial level of like, hey, my name's Lisa. What do you need? I can do that for you.
Yeah.
You've got to narrow that down. But where she was talking about, I think, Courtney, is that the switching from a project over to recurring revenue. If you have a great relationship, you've done great work, they're clients you want to work with. I mean, let's tick all those boxes first. I tell you, there are some clients I'm like, thank God that was a project, right? See ya, bye.
Yep.
You want to ask them, what value could you bring, and or how could the work we've already done continue? Meaning we've already done your messaging, we've already done your branding, whatever it may be. Yeah,
completely agree. Yeah, it's much better as well, as you mentioned, to go back to those people that you enjoy working with. Yes. But this should be, anytime you try to come up with a new product or service, I think this should be step one, is talking to the people you enjoy working with, who are profitable to work with. Because otherwise you risk wasting days, weeks, or months of your time creating something that nobody wants.
Yeah, 100%. And guess what? So next Wednesday, I'm teaching a 2-day masterclass on the 6 steps to build a 6-figure business. And step number 2 is really important, and it's called Explore. And I don't want to give it away, but those that have tuned in, I think I should give a little bit of it away. We've already talked about step 1 and step 2. I'm going to go into in depth with it. But exploring, figuring out, testing, trying, like giving yourself the freedom to say, should I go hourly? Should I go project? Should I focus on just one thing? Should I focus on lots of things? Am I more of a recurring revenue, like monthly retainer person, or a project person? So it's okay. And I think it's really important to explore all those things before you decide, I do this, and then try to find people to like fit your little like mold. It shouldn't be that way as you're working through it. You really want to cast a wide net and decide, who do I like working with? What do I like doing? What is a great like connection response that people are getting with me? Now I can refine that. Now I can narrow it down. So we're going to talk about that. I truly believe that too many people get stuck on step number 2, try to be all things to all people, and they never narrow themselves down so that people can really understand what it is they do. But you still have to give yourself that time to explore and experiment a little bit. Did you
Yeah.
ever do anything outside of writing? Did you do other type of freelancing?
Not other type of freelancing, no. So it was always freelancing, anything to do with writing or marketing, basically. But my work history was in sales before I came to freelance writing, copywriting, and prior to that, my education was in languages. So it's there's no real defined path. I've gone from all over the place and different things. In the first few years of freelancing as well, I was working with all kinds of different clients. It was it was fun, but it was not profitable.
Yes, I hear you. And there are
Yeah,
some things that you can do just for fun. The way I
yeah,
look at the explore stage is that people are paying me to learn. So somebody was like, "Oh, can you build a Squarespace site?" And I was like, "I'm sure I can." I'm over here Googling how to build a Squarespace site. I'm like, if you're going to pay me, even though it's less than what you'd pay a Squarespace designer, of course, pay me. I will figure it out. I just know that I will deliver great work. I will keep my communication clear. You will be happy with what's delivered in the end. I will work on it till it's great. And I'm going to get paid to learn, right? So in my first year as freelancer, that was probably a mistake I see people making by turning away opportunities because they don't feel like they could do it, instead of going, if everybody keeps asking about this, maybe I should learn how to do it, right? There's an opportunity there.
yeah. One of the best forms of education that I found, apart from sort of the various programs, courses, mentors that I've sort of paid for training with, was I got a job writing for a digital marketing agency. And the exposure that that gave me to different forms of marketing for business not only helped me be able to offer more services to different people, but it helped me improve my business because I got a behind the scenes look about how this massive agency did it for so many other people.
I love it. I don't know if anybody's asked the question yet, but being a white label freelancer may be a really great way to go as a supplement. I know we've got a lot of story brand guides that are in this community, and they may not like going out getting the work, but they love doing the work. And so they'll pick up gigs that other people, they become subcontractors, so to speak. And my first year, I worked for a story brand guide. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't know what this is, but I'm just going to continue to explain it. Story brand's a framework. There is a certified guide. He was like a guru in the business. He's on Upwork looking for a lower price copywriter. I put my hand up because I knew he was a story brand guide, and I said, how clever am I? I'm going to get paid to learn what he does, right? I want to do this. So I even bid really low. I got paid peanuts. I didn't care because it was all an opportunity to learn. So there's another mistake I see people making. You are so focused on making money that you miss opportunities to learn. You are so focused on not losing money that you won't pay the extra credits on Upwork to apply to a few more jobs. Do not be stingy. Do not think that everything is about how you just add money to your bank account. If you are in this, and that the very first step is deciding you are going to do this, you're going to do it for a long time. So you need to see this as a long-term investment. And yes, you may not get paid what you're worth on a job, but if you get exposure, if you now get to put that piece in your portfolio, guys, you've got to think a little bit more strategically, a little bit more long term. And it's because you have a scarcity mindset and a little bit of fear in there that you're like, I know, but I need to make money. You've got to add a little bit of making money with a lot of really being able to say, how do I grow my business and grow my, my career?
I agree completely. It's one of the things I always tell people is that you should never work for free, but payment does not necessarily have to be financial.
Mm-hmm.
Payment could be the education, it could be the contact. And when I've tried to launch a new service, I've offered it to past clients for a reduced rate. But the deal is if they're happy with the work, they refer 2 more people to me at my full rate. So while I'm working at a cheaper rate, I'm getting benefits on the back end. Like you said, it's an investment. I get paid that initial time to learn how to do this properly with a client. And on the back end, they're offering referrals.
Yes.
There should always be a payment, but it doesn't have to be financial. And if you're focused only on the financial, like you said, they're going to miss out on opportunities.
Totally. Yeah, your head is too far down and you're not looking out across the horizon.
Yeah.
Again, people won't go on Upwork because they're like, oh, they charge high fees. I get it. They're marketing fees. You are paying to get a feedback, a referral, and a testimonial. Really good testimonials are worth money. They are worth the next gig. Guys,
Yeah.
if you think about it, my projects, when I first started, my projects were around 2,500 bucks. They're probably more like 6,500 now for almost the exact same work. Now the quality's gone up, the speed's gone up, like all the great things. But like those testimonials were little micro investments. Yes, it probably cost me $300 or $400 in fees to Upwork. And you know what? Thank God for a platform where you have leads coming in that are already like, I have a love-hate relationship with Upwork, but it built my business. It put food on my table. I'm here today because of it. So I never want to be ungrateful. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. But for the most part, try not to get consumed with those tiny details and look at it as a bigger picture. Too many people are not thinking like business owners. They're just looking for the quick cash. And this honestly, unfortunately, is not a quick cash play in terms of if you want to actually charge good numbers.
Yeah. The most valuable thing I've found is the network. The network you can create for yourself is the most valuable thing because it comes back to that social proof, the testimonials. If you've got a great network and somebody who has more connections can turn around and go, this person's a great writer, you should hire them. That carries so much more weight than even the best written pitch ever could. That is almost guaranteed new client right there.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm gonna see if there's any more questions. We've got quite a few people watching, which is awesome. Pete, why don't you tell people how they can follow you, stay in touch with
Sure.
you, learn more about you? Like, I think having multiple perspectives is amazing, and I want to know, like, tell us what you're up to, going forward.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to find me, you can find me at haveaword.com. Unfortunately, I got this one. I didn't really understand anything to do with search engine optimization. So it's have-a-word.com. Awkward, I know, but it's there. And, there's a bunch of articles up there about how to, free advice on how to grow your freelance business. There's also a daily email that I send out with tips. As for what I'm doing now going forward is I'm segueing more into the coaching side of things. With the business side of things, I've partnered up with somebody who once went through one of my own training programs, and we are working on higher priced projects with growing brands, but we're going in for equity stakes rather than payment. So, we go in as part business owners and more as advisors rather than doing the work now. We're focusing more on the strategy side of things.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm switching my screen back. So that was have a word. Yeah, I love the idea. Guys, if you connect with some really amazing business owners and there's an opportunity for you to maybe be part of their business or contribute to their business for a piece of equity, those are some pretty amazing, low cost to you, a little bit of your time and energy, and you never know how those will turn out. So that's a
Yeah.
great way of looking at it.
Yeah, I will say there are some risks involved, obviously, and you have to work with the company for a number of years to get those full shares. But it can be very rewarding, and to feel like you're not just working for a client, but you own part of that business is a great feeling.
Well, and you're also gonna give, more to it because you now have a little bit,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
Little bit of stake in it as well.
yeah,
So guys, I want to remind you that we are doing a masterclass next Wednesday. This is a free 2-day masterclass. It's taking a second to load. And when I say 2 days, I literally mean 2 days. Like, you've got to come the first day and you have to come the second day, because I'm going to cover the first 3 steps the first day, and then the next 3 steps the next day, because there's that much information. So you can register on the site to do that. I've already kind of dropped in there what the 6 steps are. Please don't think, oh, I know those. Come, listen. I give away so much free information. Register there. If you want to know a little bit more, you can click the video down here. I'll tell you about what is in that masterclass. And we've got a big community in the Facebook group, which is super exciting, and that's growing. So if you know anybody that should be here that's a freelancer, please invite them to the group. We'll do more and more of these. I loved our conversation, Pete. I really appreciate
No,
you,
thank you.
especially since it's in the evening over there. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to just having a continued conversation with you.
Yeah, no, me too, very much so. Thank you very much. Hope everyone enjoyed and got some value out of it. Yeah, really appreciate you giving me the time.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, see you guys. Bye.
See ya.